like green team wins, and is why I like it is why you can draw your what you think you could do the thing in, and then you hold the thing out, and when you're finished, you put the stuff back. Hello! Today I will talk about a game called Trekking Through the National Park. So in Trekking Through the National Park, it's like you get to walk around on each national park. And also, you're able to collect stones. And I like it because there's lots of because you're able to find buildings, things. You're able to do a lot of building. I like building. And I also like going around the national parks like that and all that stuff. So that's why I like Trekking Through the National Park.
My favorite game to play is Wingspan because you get to feed your birds that you get, and I like being able to roll the dice down the bird feeder. It's fun for kids to take the dice and put them through the hole in the top of the bird feeder. They come through the bottom, and when they were going through the bird feeder, it was different from what was at the top. So I like doing that, and I like trying to feed my birds and giving them the best habitat. And yeah, so that's why I like Wingspan. I think it's a good family game for people to play.
As a parent of 3 kids who are growing in their interest in board games, I'm always on the lookout for games that I know will, first of all, keep their attention, second of all, be a fun family experience for all of us, and third of all, teach something that they can grow from the experience, whether that's a life skill or a greater knowledge or an understanding of something else that they could learn in life. For this video, our family sat down and discussed what our favorite games were, so the input comes from my wife and children who are 9, 7, and 4. So if you are on the lookout for games that will work with your family, and many of which will work for the older kids and all of us, let's start our countdown.
Number 10!
Hogi was one of the early games we got to play with our family. What we liked about the game was that it was a fairly simple task, creating a sandwich with 2 pieces of bread, meat, lettuce, and cheese. But it is a strategic game because you go and try to spoil any of your opponent's cards to slow them down. The game can be played by pre-readers because there are no words, only pictures, and you can teach your youngest kids to figure out what they need to complete their task and organize their sandwich. As the kids got older, the game became a raucous circus of who could spoil Dad's sandwich the fastest. But it is a good, quick game with lots of laughs for everyone playing.
Number 9!
Wingspan is a game of collecting birds from their habitats and learning different facts about those birds. At least, that's what the game is on the surface. The genius of the game is that it is a tightly built engine-building game where you're trying to collect the right birds that have the right bonuses that will stack on top of one another to get the most points. It's a gamer's game that's attractive to people who don't really have much interest in games. That being said, this game is designed for teenagers and above, so the youngest kiddos may be fish out of water here. But I found that my 9-year-old really grasped the mechanics of the game pretty well to the point where she regularly beats me at the game. And my 7-year-old enjoyed playing the game and collecting birds that he wanted to add to his habitat. It fits casual play as well as competitive play. The game will take a little bit longer than some of the other games that we have on our list, and each person you add makes the game longer. So if you have 5 people playing the game, it can be pretty long. We love it at 3. It works well at 2. You can play it at 4 and 5, but just again, understand this is a game that it's shorter with fewer people and longer with more people.
Number 8!
Suro is the game that we lovingly call the path game in our family. In Suro, players start with their tokens at the edge of the board, and they're required to place a square that adds to their path. If your path forward sends you off the edge of the board, you lose the game. This sounds simple enough at first, but as the game goes on, the players have fewer and fewer options to stay on the board. Like Hogi, the concept is visual with no words, so it's easy for a young player to play, but it has enough strategy to be enjoyed by adults as well. This is a very quick game, and can be set up and played in a few minutes, and you can play multiple times with a different game occurring each time due to the initial setup and cards that you draw.
Number 7.
I'm a huge Settlers of Catan fan. When my kids were getting old enough to play Katan Jr., I decided to give it a try with them, and was pleasantly surprised that it taught some of the core concepts of Catan while being different and accessible for the kids. In Katan Jr., you start with cities in predetermined locations, and you could use your ships to try to develop paths to the places where you build new cities. Like the original, you roll a die, but not 2, and you collect resources to build, and when you reach a certain threshold of points, you win the game. As an added bonus, Katan Jr. is playable with 2 to 4 players, meaning you don't need to have a third person to play the game. One other person is enough. Our youngest isn't quite ready for this game, but our 7-year-old enjoyed playing it a year ago when he was 6, so I don't think it will be that long before all of our kids are able to play. Catan has always been a great game for teaching about trade, choices, and basic economies, and this game has made those ideas more accessible to younger players.
Number 6.
There has been a rash of games in recent years that take the concept of taboo, where you explain what is on the card in your hand to your team without saying the words that are not allowed. My favorite of these games is Poetry for Neanderthals. Not only are you unable to say the words on your card in your hand, but you must exclusively use one-word syllables to describe what's on your card for people to guess. You have a time limit to get your team to guess as many words as possible as you rack up a bunch of points. But wait, there's more. There's a blow-up club that a person sitting next to you is ready to whack you in the head with if you say any words that have more than one syllable. So, to do what you do in the game, I must slow down and think so I don't use long words and get hit. The time runs while you think and use short words, and this can add stress. The game is fun, and we all have a great time when we play.
Number 5.
The first time I heard about trekking the national parks was when I watched the documentary Game Master, and I thought it was a cool idea. Moving around the board and visiting national parks to collect points sounded easy and simple to play, and it was a fun idea. When I had a chance to play the game with my family, I discovered how charmingly simple it was, and it immediately became a favorite of our family. The board was a map of the United States, and you could travel to places we had been and wanted to go as we collected points. To me, it really felt like a different take on Ticket to Ride, but it was more streamlined, and it was grounded in the real national parks. Something I really value about this game is that it is apparent that it was a labor of love for the family that created the game. Many of the pictures of those parks were taken by the family on their vacations, and a few years ago they completed the goal of actually visiting every one of the national parks. For our family, in addition to being a game where we can play to try to win against one another, it is an opportunity for us to think about which of these parks we would like to visit in the future, especially as the United States government allows 4th grade students and their families from the US to have free entry into the parks that otherwise would have admission fees. This game can be a fun precursor to taking advantage of that program as a family together.
Number 4.
Happy Salmon is fast and chaotic. We love it. Players have a deck of cards that each card has one of 4 different actions. High five, fist bump, switch places, or the arm flapping Happy Salmon. Players need to call out their card and find another player who has the same card and complete the action with their partner. Then they've finished that card and they can move on to their next one. They continue until they've gone through their entire deck. The entire game is frantic, and that aspect reminded me of playing the game Pit. Pre-readers won't be able to read the cards, but they might be able to memorize the pictures on the cards to participate. Our 4-year-old loves playing the game, even though I'm not always sure he understands that he's supposed to make the action that it's on his card instead of doing what his siblings are asking him to do. But he has fun and can participate, and all of our kids can have a good time playing this game together. This game is fast, and a round can be played in minutes, and we rarely play just one game.
Number 3.
Ticket to Ride is one of the classics that our family enjoys. This game about taking train routes and building trains is a great exercise in planning and execution as you try to complete routes across the region of the world that you're playing to gain points, at risk of losing points if you don't complete the routes. Additionally, the actual train pieces are a fun design and our kids like playing with them while they wait for their turns. Ticket to Ride can help teach planning and geography, and it's a relaxed experience for everyone who plays. Our youngest can participate by being on a team with someone else, but otherwise, everyone has a good handle on the game. I haven't played the first Journeys version of Ticket to Ride, so I'm not sure if that would be more accessible for our youngest, but I would actually go with the regular game anyway because it's accessible enough for younger kids, and they won't grow out of it either.
Number 2.
My kids insisted that I put Legacy of Isla Nublar very high on this list. Well, they have never seen Jurassic Park or Jurassic World. They love dinosaurs, and they've played the Lego game, and they have Lego toys, and they've read junior novelizations of the stories, so this game was right up their alley. This Jurassic Park-themed Legacy game is a cooperative trek through the first 5 Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies. I won't say too much about it, and will only show a few visuals that a player would see right at the beginning of the game, but I appreciate that this game allows me to work together with my kids to problem-solve challenges that are presented to us each game, and work together to accomplish clearly stated goals. Again, that explanation is very vague, but this game is definitely geared to fans of Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, and the unveiling of story and components makes each game a riveting experience. Our youngest hasn't played this game with us, but the cooperative nature of the game makes it so we could potentially have him play and work together with him to make the moves each turn. The game takes a while to set up and play, so you might need to set aside a couple of hours for each adventure.
Number 1.
Finally, our top game is Green Team Wins. This beautiful party game requires players to think about how other players think and strategize accordingly. There is a prompt given to all of the players, and each prompt either has 2 options, 3 options, or is an open-ended response. The key to the game is that you give the answer that the most people give. If you do, then your team marker flips from orange to green and you get 1 point. Or if you're already on the green team, then you get 2 points. You play 15 rounds like this and try to gather the most points. This is a really fun game in a family setting or another group where people know each other really well. For example, in my family, my kids will inevitably answer the free response to Captain Blank with either Captain Underpants or Captain Jack Sparrow. So my wife and I have to decide whether we're going to put down one of those responses or something different. The responses can be fascinating here, and there is a fun cat and mouse game of saying what you would put down versus putting a response that you think others would play. The responses are written down on dry erase boards, so our kids like embellishing their responses with pictures while they wait for everyone to finish, adding to the fun and creativity of the game. This game is great for families or a party game night. It has 15 rounds, but this is the type of game you could honestly play as long or as short as you have time available to play, so it is very flexible for many different situations. So there you have it, our family's top 10 games. I hope you find our thoughts helpful as you consider what games you want to play in the future. Here's my question for you. What games should my family check out in the future? Drop a comment with your family's favorite games and why they are meaningful to you, so that everyone here can use our community of knowledge when choosing what games to play in the future. I hope you've enjoyed our discussion of favorite family board games, and thanks for watching.